Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I've got your first gameplay and overview, at least your first gameplay from me, for the Magach 7-3. This is a currently rank 6, battle rating 9.3 tank for the Israeli dev, or the Israeli ground tech tree, and it is on the dev server. So this is pretty much an up-armored, up-gunned version of the M60, and as you can see, I mean, it just has tons of composite screens right here in the front. Very interesting design. You have some composite screens here. It's going to be fairly effective against things like heat FS. So as you can see, it doesn't really, at least from certain angles, will not necessarily be able to be penned by heat FS, which is going to be very nice. Now, unfortunately, it will have to fight things like APF SDS. So as you can see, that just cuts through it like a hot knife through butter and will automatically make sushi or slushies of the crew, unfortunately. So that being said, this is still going to be a very powerful vehicle. You have around 16.5 or so horsepower per ton, which is not all too bad, especially being that this has an upgraded engine, and it is going to be better when it comes to mobility, at least in theory, compared to the Merkava Mark II-D, which has around 14.6 horsepower per ton. So it's about 10 or 15% better when it comes to power to weight ratio compared to that. Additionally, it does have access to the M426, which has upwards, at least on the dev server, of 430 millimeters of armor pen, as compared to, again, just using this as an example, the Merkava Mark II-D, which has access to only around 408 millimeters of armor pen. But where you really start shining is, again, in the angles and the distances, where this performs, I would say, a bit better insofar as, again, that's concerned. So that being said, this is almost kind of like a speedier, slightly more powerful version of the Merkava, except, of course, with the trade-off for lesser armor and survivability. But, of course, these are two totally different tanks, so any comparison between them kind of stops there. So that being said, let's get into a few matches, see how we can do, and have a good time. That said, let's get into it. So right off the bat, the mobility on this vehicle is not bad, but I mean, ultimately, it almost kind of feels like a totally upgraded M60. So it's not terrible, but it's not great. Additionally, this is the maximum zoom. Now, I'm not really entirely sure what time zoom it is, but it's not phenomenal. So this is not going to be something that you're a sniper with. And, you know, by no means does it have anything more than Gen 1 thermals. So it's not fantastic in the technology department. It's got okay armor. You know, the composite screens are definitely decent. But at this PR, pretty much everybody will be using APF SDS as opposed to the heat FS that this actually protects from. So it's not really going to be the most protection, again, in War Thunder. So I'm going to go cap this base here, see what we can do, but there is a lot. So this is the newest map, and there is a lot going on here. Like a lot of foliage, a lot of cover, a lot of pretty much everything. That was a little bit ugly, but still got the hit. Of course, one of the problems with dev server gameplay is that I am facing, for the most part, a bunch of World War II vehicles, so that is going to be the primary enemy here. But of course, we do have a few non-World War II vehicles up in here, so to speak. But a lot of those are also going to be like tier or like rank 7, 11.0 BR tanks. So it's like either I'm facing tanks that are way lower BR or way higher BR. So it's just not going to be anything too incredibly fair. But you know, at very least, you get to see kind of the general capabilities of these vehicles, which is nice, you know, by any means. So at least we can see that. Okay, we have something shooting right through. Maybe that's a BMP. No, that's a Leopard 2K. Okay, he's dead. Perfect. So here's what I'll tell you guys. I'm not unimpressed by this vehicle. I think it's got a very good shell at the M426. So again, you know, and this is not at all a great comparison to make, but you know, one of the most familiar tanks for many people, because it is a higher BR premium, is going to be the Merkava Mark II-D. And this feels like a faster, better armed, lesser armored, lesser survivable version of that. So it feels good in many ways, but I don't really know if it's... Oh, good. We got the kill. But I don't really know if it's phenomenal. But I feel like at 9.3 BR, especially with all this armor pen, it is still, I mean, very, very powerful. Not the best in terms of armor, and it's got decent enough mobility, not terrible. I'd probably give it like a 6-ish out of 10 for mobility. Especially being at this BR, you start seeing mobility increasing so much. But, yeah, I mean, this is a very capable, very, very capable tank. I mean, I'm actually quite impressed by it thus far. And I was able to survive that onslaught by the Leopard 2K, which does mean something, in my opinion. Okay, we have a World War II tank. Looks like an M4A3. Not too shabby. We have another one over here. And one of the other really nice things about this is the incredible amount of MGs rather, that this has. And as you can see, I've got 3 firing, but if I had a full crew, I could have 4 firing. And even if I only have 2 crew members, that 50 cal right there in the middle, that still fires. So that is actually also very impressive. Very, very useful, especially when you have a light tank. So let's do one more match here real quick, but not too bad right here again, especially for the dev server. Let's get into it. But here you can tell there's a big difference. Of course, I'm what, 9.3 BR? That's 11.0 BR, if I'm not mistaken, the M1A2. And there's a huge difference between the mobility of this vehicle and that vehicle. I mean, he's got a freaking turbine engine. I've got, I believe, a diesel engine. So diesel engines typically actually produce more power earlier, and it's an often missed or overlooked stat in War Thunder. But down here where it says RPM, that actually matters. So you have a few tanks such as the Tiger II SLA, where it's really prominent, where it has a that's got a totally different engine compared to the Tiger II-H, Tiger II-P. So those both have, if I'm not mistaken, gas-powered engines. The Tiger II SLA-16 has diesel, and it actually receives its top horsepower earlier. I believe it's like 400 RPM lower, which, you know, a lot of people, again, they might not look at and they might not say, oh wow, that matters. But it does indeed matter. That is a big deal, because, you know, a lot of the time, especially with older engines, you're not getting up to 2,600 horsepower nearly as easily and quickly as you will, of course, with 2,200 RPM. And so, you know, getting an extra 50 horsepower, much sooner in the power band does matter. And if you guys actually want, I would definitely suggest, and this should help out, when picking out vehicles in War Thunder, especially premium ones, look up how power bands in real life work, because that is, in my opinion, very interesting. I'm going to go humiliate myself right there. But, yes, look up power bands and how those work in real life, because that does actually play a pretty big part in how power kind of functions, horsepower rather, functions in War Thunder. Okay, we have a World War II tank, and it is destroyed. Now, like I said, while it is very fun, don't get me wrong, to just completely wall up all these World War II tanks, and I guess a post-war variant, the M51. It's not really fair, unfortunately. But that's just how the dev server is. I mean, I'm facing 3 enemy players. That's it. And I've yet to see any of them. So, unfortunately, what ends up happening is you just see a bunch of these vehicles that don't have armor that's nearly capable of defending against you. But you could surmise pretty easily that, again, the 430 millimeters of armor pen... Oh, got killed by a bot! Wow, and he killed himself right afterwards? Really? Anyways, you can surmise rather pretty darn easily, in my opinion, that with the 430 millimeters of armor pen that is available with that vehicle, with the Magach 7C, that it can go through more or less any vehicle with ease. And again, I mean, perfect example right here. A lot of people are kind of trying to see, oh, well, you know, this is 9.3, this vehicle, the Merkava, Mark II-D is 9.3, which is better. Again, this is more of a turtle. It's got still very capable armor pen, decent mobility, but the Magach 7C has better mobility, better armor pen, lesser armor, lesser survivability. So really it is a take your pick sort of thing, but again, it's not really even all too reasonable of a comparison, being that one's premium, one's not, and they are two totally different types of tanks and platforms. But either way, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, because I am always interested to see your opinions. Either way, thanks again, guys, and I will see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.